Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today I'm going to be doing another in-depth review. This one is going to be from the end of the Week 6 Tampa Bay Bandits Philadelphia Stars matchup. So, to get to a little bit of how we got to this point, essentially the Bandits were at a fourth, and they were down, and they made this comeback, and then it got to a point where they were at 4th and 10. They made an insane pass and run to get a 62-yard gain to get pushed out at the 8, and then they went on a rush and they got 3 yards. So they are here at 2nd and 5 or 2nd and goal at the 5 with 3 plays left. As you can see, they still have a timeout. There's still 44 seconds. So they do indeed have enough time to run all 3 plays. And this is not like the Panthers I did a couple weeks ago where they ended up kicking a field goal. No, they have to score a touchdown to at least force overtime or go for the win. So at this point, this is a really tough decision on what to do. Yes, you just did gain 3 yards, but their running backs haven't been averaging the best amount, and Tamu himself is mainly seeming to benefit off scrambles and stuff. So at this point, it's kind of a decision of, do you play like strategic, normal football where you run the ball here, or do you try and throw, since Tamu is having a pretty respectable game through the air. He's averaging 8 yards an attempt. He's got 4 touchdowns through the air. So, do you go for another one here? Well, what we're about to see here is what I call a stupid play call. So, yeah, you know what? Let's just play this. So, you see what happens, and it's like, okay, moves to the right, and then you're like, wait, I've seen this before. Direct snap to, the running back, pitch to back, and they throw it, and it gets almost picked off. They really just did the Philly special. Like, bro. I mean, it seems like every year at least, since that Super Bowl, there's at least one team in football, or at least it seems like almost in every league, like, college, pro, and something like that, there's at least one team that tries to be cute and use the Philly special. It worked for the Eagles because it came out of nowhere. It was a shock play, and that's why it worked, because it was thrown to the quarterback. But people know how to do it now. So you basically just did this random play that ended up making no sense. Like, you really, of all the decisions, chose to just do the Philly special, which is a play that almost every single football player knows because they watched the Super Bowl, because they're football players, and that, it's a dumb play call. So they end up gaining no yards. But hey, they're still at the 5. So here we are again. They're about to snap the ball again, and they're looking like they're going to throw again because they're at 3rd and goal. They still have their timeout left, so they could just run one rush down the middle and try to get 2 yards. Since it's not like they're at the 5, they're kind of like at the 4.5, which is the 5 considered. So they only really need 2 yards on a rush, and then they can decide to run the ball again. But they're going to pass. And you see they get the pass off, and then Tamu immediately doesn't throw the check down. That's down in the middle right there, as you can see. Now, if he throws that, that's at worst an incomplete pass. There's almost no universe where that gets picked off, barring an insane rush from the defender that's second closest to the receiver. But what you can do is you can just check this down, and it can be like a 2-3 yard gain, and then you're at the 2 yard line, you timeout. He doesn't throw this. And now he has to scramble, he has to run around, he's trying to find someone, and he throws the ball out of bounds. And as you can see there, 29 is coming back into frame. So maybe he could have thrown a better ball to the left instead of throwing it out of bounds, and he could have thrown it to the right corner of the end zone, the right front corner, right middle of the end zone, and maybe he would have caught it. I know that might be considered nitpicking, but at the end of the day, you gotta kind of nitpick. Every single play matters. So, you could have done that, I'm just saying. But, you know what, maybe you're thinking, well, you know what, I don't know if I really like that, I don't know if I want to go for that, and throw an interception. Okay. So, now you are at a 4th and goal. This is where you have to pull your best play out. This is the last play of this game, potentially. You gotta at least go out with a play that's smart. Once again, they have a running back in the backfield. Now, at this point, it's like, why? No one's expecting this team to run it. They got Tamu to be a passing team. They haven't been running the ball. So keeping him there, making him seem like a check down option is kind of sketchy, especially since the Stars' defense is basically ready for a check down type of play. They got 4 guys in the back. So you see the play go, they snap the ball, they do a play action move right there, which is that split second of like just confusion of why do that. No one's going to be fooled by you doing that. No one. And even if they are, at that moment, you can still see that there are still 2 Stars defenders covering 1 receiver. One of them could easily get off and go get him if they were to hand it off. So now you're at this position. Right now, it looks like not good. I'm just going to be real with you. It doesn't look good at this moment. The play keeps going, but then something happens. Talmu rushed the throw a little bit on this one and kind of missed it a bit. I'm not trying to be, this mean guy or anything, but like when you look at this play, he is about to get hit, I understand, but he throws it and he overthrows it. I mean, his receiver beat his man. He knocked him down and there wasn't a flag on the play, so he could have won the game right there. But he overthrows it, the blocking doesn't work, and they end up getting beat. Now they're at 3-3, the Stars are at 3-3, and now they gotta hope that the Breakers don't win, or else they're gonna be on the outside looking in, now that we're, actually kind of part ways through the season. This was overall a really weirdly executed final drive. I'm just gonna be honest. I looked at this, and I watched it, and I'm thinking, like, what exactly happens? Like, when you call that Philly special and it didn't work, okay, so maybe now you run the ball. You don't run the ball, you go for another pass. And it goes to the idea of, like, trying to win the game rather than trying to get yards. If on that 3rd down they had gained a couple of yards on that check down, they could have ran the ball in, and, I mean, it's only a 2-yard rush. You could have pitched it, you could have ran straight through, could have done a dive, QB sneak, but instead you're just throwing. The problem with throwing in the red zone is that you have less space to work with. It gives the defenders the advantage and the offense the disadvantage. Whereas if you're running the ball, it's just you versus them. It's who's stronger. But when you're throwing, it's a lot less of a mental battle than it is normally, where it's like, okay, where's the receiver going? Because there's less space to work with. That's why the Stars executed that 4th down perfectly. The Stars had this great setup for the 4th down play, to where they could pretty much counter anything the Bandits threw at them. And the Bandits, they don't get the protection they need on the 4th down. The Stars get past, they rush the quarterback, and then the pass is overthrown. And guess what? The Bandits lose. The Bandits lose this game, despite Talmu having a pretty good stat line. And people are talking about how, man, Talmu, he was really solid and he was great. And yes, he did have a really solid game. He ended up with like 67.5 completion percentage for 330 yards, and he had a ton of touchdowns. But the other day, at the end of the game, when it came to be mattered most, they didn't keep it in the hands of their quarterback. They tried to do a gimmick play. It didn't work. They kept it in the hands of the quarterback. He made the wrong read, and it didn't work, and then it ended up not working. This final drive was executed poorly. This wasn't like the Panthers in-depth review I did a while back, where it was a terrible coaching decision, because that drive worked. It's just that they made a dumb coaching decision to kick a field goal. But this was just poor execution, poor play calling. This is one of those where I'm doing this review because it's not like you can fully blame one person. They shouldn't have called that play. Talmu should have gotten that check down. They should have ran the ball. They should have been better protected on the 4th down play. Like, everyone is partially to blame on that final drive, pretty much. But it just ends up being bad for them, because now they're having to genuinely hope that the Breakers don't win. Because if the Breakers win, then they're going to be having to come climbing out of a hole, rather than having to, have them climb out of the hole or keep up with them. Especially since the Stallions would win later today, putting them at 6-0, which legitimately is almost a guaranteed playoff position at this point. And with the Stars winning, they have a huge advantage with the Panthers losing. They're now pretty much also nearly guaranteed to make the playoffs, considering the Maulers still look pretty bad. But, maybe the Maulers win today, but we'll have to wait and see. But overall, this was a pretty telling game. as for showing that the Stars can win running the ball. They ran the ball hard and they won the game. But the Bandits could have won this if they had just made that final drive better. Overall, this has been ZombFox. This is my second in-depth review. I think these are pretty fun to make, even though it's not fun to make editing-wise, but it's fun to actually, discuss these plays and actually, use football IQ to actually talk about this, rather than just, being one team played better, their running game was solid, but actually looking at a play or a drive in depth. And I know the last one was pretty successful. If you guys do like this, like the video and comment if you think this is genuinely a really cool idea. As always, this is ZombFox. If you enjoy my content, subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified as soon as I upload videos. And as always, have a great night.